Most people will spend 20-25 repeating the same mistakes over and over, but you don't have to be one of them. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor of Rome, developed a mental reset method he used every morning to rule the greatest empire in the world. And this exact system can completely transform your life in the next 90 days. Imagine waking up in December 2025 as a completely different person, with rock-solid habits, an unshakable mind, and crystal-clear purpose. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment from what part of the world you're watching, because now I'm going to tell you everything. What if you started this year by putting every worry and plan into just 3 simple boxes? The idea is straightforward and very practical. You sort everything on your mind into what you control, what you can influence, and what is outside your control. It comes from a Stoic habit called the dichotomy of control, which simply means separating your internal choices from outside events. To make it even more useful in daily life, you use a third space in the middle for things you can influence but not fully command. When you do this on paper, your head clears. Decisions stop tripping over guesses. You can focus on what actually moves your day forward. Let's make the boxes concrete. In the first box go the things you control directly. That includes your attention, your choices, your words, your effort, and the tasks you decide to do. You decide what to read, what to ignore, how to respond, how to prepare, what to ship, when to rest, and how to treat people. This is the territory where you can act freely and be fully accountable. No one can force your judgment or your effort without your say. It's simple, not easy, but it is yours. In the second box go things you do not control, but you can influence. This is where most of life's practical game happens. You cannot control whether a client says yes, but you can influence it with a clear proposal and a respectful follow-up. You cannot control whether a teammate adopts your idea, but you can give them a strong draft and ask for feedback early. You cannot control if a hiring manager calls you, but you can prepare a clean portfolio, ask for a warm introduction, and send a thoughtful note. Influence is about shaping probabilities without pretending that you run the whole show. You bring your best, you nudge, you follow through, and you accept that the final turn is not entirely in your hands. In the third box go things that are out of your control entirely: the economy, platform algorithms, weather, random policy changes, market timing, unexpected outages. Fate, if you like that word. Putting these into the right box is not giving up. It is getting real. You are not surrendering your dignity. You are avoiding fights you cannot win, so you can focus on the ones that ask for your effort. Now that the boxes are clear, build a light daily ritual that uses them. Every morning, after you wake up and move around a bit, open a page and drop your concerns, ambitions, and habits into the 3 boxes. Keep it short, not a novel. Then pick 3 needle-moving actions from the first 2 boxes. Needle-moving just means an action that clearly advances a work stream or a life priority. If you can point to it at night and say, "I did that, and it mattered," it qualifies. It could be writing and sending a difficult email, recording a draft, finishing a small but real feature, booking a medical appointment, or starting a tough conversation you have been avoiding. 3 is enough to push the day forward without crowding your attention. This small cap forces you to choose what matters. For anything that sits in the third box, write a short acceptance sentence. Keep the tone calm and clear, calm. Something like, "I accept that the platform reach may drop again. If that happens, I will keep publishing on schedule and explore one alternative channel." Or, "I accept that rain may cancel the outdoor event. If that happens, I will move it indoors and run a shorter program." Acceptance is not passive. It is a decision to stop fighting the weather with worry and start preparing a response you can actually execute. When you do this often, anxiety loses its favorite fuel, which is the fantasy of control. There is one more small move that makes this system sturdier. Add the reserve clause to your plans by quietly saying, "If nothing prevents me." It is an old phrase with a practical point. You keep your aim high, but you do not glue your mood to a specific outcome or an exact schedule. You write, "I will send the proposal by mid-afternoon if nothing prevents me," or "I will run for 30 minutes after work if nothing prevents me." You are still aiming and acting. You are just acknowledging that life occasionally throws a wrench, and when it does, you will adjust without drama. This simple clause removes a lot of hidden pressure while keeping your standards. If you test this for 30 days, you will notice something subtle but powerful. Your attention shifts from compulsive prediction to purposeful execution. Instead of checking headlines or refreshing dashboards, hoping to guess what comes next, you lean into the part you can actually do today. The mind stops chasing fog and starts moving the wheel in front of you. It feels lighter, not because the world changed, but because your focus did. Here is a realistic way to run the day with this framework. In the morning, list what you control that matters today. Maybe it is preparing one clean memo, practicing a presentation, or making a healthy lunch instead of ordering takeout. List what you can influence. Maybe it is nudging a partner for a decision, sending a follow-up on an application, or asking a mentor for a quick review. Map what is outside your control. Maybe the budget approval, a platform glitch, or a delayed shipment. From the first two areas, pick your 3 actions, block time for them, and commit. For the out-of-control items, write acceptance lines and any contingency steps you can set up now. Then, do your first action before you check anything that invites you to predict the future. That tiny sequence teaches your nervous system a new pattern. Act first, scan later. Common question: how do you classify tricky items that seem to touch all 3 boxes? Start with the most precise piece of the problem and place that. For example, you cannot control getting an interview, but you can control refining your resume for the role, and you can influence your odds by asking for referrals. Break it into pieces and sort each piece. If you are unsure, place it in the influence box and ask, what is the tangible step that might make a difference here? If you cannot find one, it probably belongs in the 3rd box with an acceptance sentence. Another question: won't 3 actions be too few for a busy day? You are not doing only 3 things all day. You are choosing 3 pivotal actions that will make the day meaningful even if everything else gets messy. There will still be emails, chores, errands, and routine work. But by fixing 3 real moves at the front, you make sure the day cannot be stolen by noise. If you finish early, you can always add another. The point is to protect the essential from the optional. To make the practice stick, reduce friction. Keep your boxes on a single sheet, a small card, or a simple note on your phone. Do not over-design it. You want a tool, not a hobby. Write in plain words. Resist long paragraphs. Name the action in a way that you could check it off without confusion. Send contract draft to Alex is clear. Work on contract is vague. After you write the 3 actions, put them in your calendar as real appointments. This makes the plan visible and guards it from being swallowed by interruptions. You may feel a twinge of resistance when placing items in the 3rd box. That is normal. We like the feeling of certainty, and giving it up can feel like you are lowering your ambition. You are not. You are removing fake certainty so you can raise real effort. A useful way to make peace with the 3rd box is to pair every acceptance line with a small readiness step. If the role is cancelled, I will send 3 new inquiries tomorrow morning. If the price jumps, I will delay the purchase and review alternatives on Saturday. If the meeting is moved, I will use that time for rehearsing. Acceptance plus readiness makes you calmer and sharper at the same time. Notice how the 2nd box changes your social behavior. When you admit what you can influence, You tend to communicate earlier and with more clarity. You set expectations instead of hoping people will guess your needs. You send drafts sooner. You ask for information without apology. You confirm next steps. The tone is not pushy. It is respectful and specific. That style tends to win more cooperation because it reduces uncertainty for others too. You become easier to work with, and your influence grows in a quiet way. Every few days, spend a short moment reviewing your sorting. Ask yourself where you misclassified something. Did you treat a controllable action as if it depended on other people? Did you treat an outside event as if it were your fault? Adjust the labels and carry the lesson forward. This is not about perfection. It is about getting a little more accurate each week, so your effort flows to the right place more often. Accuracy is energy. The more accurate you are, the less you waste. Emotion adds another wrinkle. You will sometimes feel strong emotions about items in the third box. That does not mean you secretly control them. It means you are human. Let the emotion be there while you act on what you can. If you are worried about a loved one's decision, the decision still belongs to them. Your part might be to listen well, share information, and offer support without control. If you are angry about a policy, your control might be your vote, your advocacy, and your conduct. This split is not cold, it is sane. It keeps relationships cleaner by separating care from control. The reserve clause deserves one more pass because it can sound like hedging if you have not tried it. If nothing prevents me is not an excuse to aim low. It is a way to keep momentum when life is bumpy. Imagine you commit to finishing a draft by late afternoon if nothing prevents you. A fire alarm pulls you from the building and chews up an hour. Under a rigid plan, you feel you failed. Under the reserve clause, you shift the block to the evening or the next morning without beating yourself up. Your aim stays steady, your timeline adjusts. That flexibility protects your confidence, which protects your consistency. Here is a compact template you can use today. Write 3 headings by hand: control, influence, outside. Under control, jot the specific moves you can make. Under influence, write the nudges and follow-ups that could shift odds. Under outside, name the big forces you will accept. Choose 3 actions from the first 2 spaces. Speak 1 acceptance line aloud for an item in the 3rd space. Add "if nothing prevents me" to your plan. Then go do the first action before you open any tab that pulls you into prediction. If you finish all 3 by early afternoon, choose 1 more if you want. If you only complete 1, you still moved the day in a real way. Tracking progress can be simple. At night, ask 1 question. Did I act where I have power today? If yes, note what you did. If not, do not spiral. Pick 1 tiny action for tomorrow that starts the engine again. Over roughly 4 weeks of this, you will likely notice fewer reactive checks, fewer flurries of what-ifs, and more small finishes that stack into momentum. You will also get better at placing items in the right box quickly, which saves mental energy for doing instead of sorting. If you work on a team, consider sharing the framework with them without preaching. You can say, "Here is how I'm organizing my day this month. What I control, what I can influence, what I cannot." Then state your 3 key actions and what you are waiting on from others. This makes collaboration smoother because it tells people where you stand and what you need without hidden pressure. It also gives them permission to do the same, which reduces guessing and frustration on both sides. 2 cautions help this practice keep its shape. First, avoid turning the 3rd box into a complaint bucket. The point is not to list everything frustrating. The point is to label reality and move on. Second, do not smuggle wishes into the 1st box. If the item depends on someone else's choice, it is not under your control, even if you want it very much. That honesty is what makes the method reliable. You can trust your plan because it is built on what you can actually do. Sometimes you will face a day when the 3rd box is heavy. A rollout stalls, a market dips. A platform changes rules overnight. On those days, lean even harder on small, controllable actions. Clean your files, improve a script, draft a message to customers, update a checklist, ship a tiny fix. These are not busy work if they prepare you to move the moment the window reopens. When the external tide turns, you will be ready, not rusty. In the end, this reset is about converting worry into work you can stand behind. It is about a clean division of labor between you and the world. You take full responsibility for your choices, your attention, your actions. You accept the rest without surrendering your standards. You aim high and you add if nothing prevents me, so you remain calm when life gets in the way. And you keep the daily ritual light and repeatable so it survives real schedules, not just ideal ones. Try it tomorrow morning. 3 boxes on a page. 3 actions from the first 2 boxes. 1 sentence of acceptance for what you cannot control. A quiet reserve clause on your plan. Then put your head down and do the first move. If you keep showing up like that day after day, you will notice the noise gets quieter and your work gets clearer. That is a reset you can trust because it does not depend on the calendar or on luck. It rests on what you can always bring with you, your choices, your attention, and your next step. Now that you're spending your energy on what you can actually do, it helps to point that effort toward the kind of person you want to become this year. Outcomes are unpredictable. Character is trainable. A virtue-first vision for 2025 keeps your hands busy on the right things even when results take their time. The practical version is simple. Instead of structuring the year around targets that depend on luck, design it around the 4 classic virtues and translate each into behaviors you can practice. Wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice are big words, but you do not need a lecture to use them. Think of wisdom as sound judgment and learning, courage as doing the right thing even when it is uncomfortable, temperance as self-control and balance, and justice as fairness and service toward others. When you map your week to those 4, you stop negotiating with motivation and start training your identity. You aim to act like a wise, brave, steady, and fair person in small ways, every day, regardless of the scoreboard. Start by sketching a clear picture of these virtues in your real life. Open a notebook and write the year in words at the top. 2025. Then give yourself 1 honest page for each virtue. On the wisdom page, describe what wisdom looks like in your work, your learning, and your personal decisions. Maybe it means you schedule quiet thinking time, read serious materials instead of skipping around, keep a decision log, and ask better questions in meetings. On the courage page, write the moves that would count as courage at your current edge. Making 1 uncomfortable call per week, pitching an idea before it feels perfect, asking for feedback from someone who will be honest, or having a difficult conversation you've been postponing. On the temperance page, picture the boundaries that would make your days cleaner. A firm stop for work in the evening, a deliberate cap on scrolling, measured choices around food or drink, and a reasonable budget for impulse purchases. On the justice page, speak to how you want to treat people, being punctual and paying on time, giving proper credit, volunteering time each week, and staying clear and kind in your speech. Keep the language plain and specific, as if you were explaining it to a friend who knows your life. Once you have the pages, turn them into small, repeatable practices. This is the shift from outcome goals to process commitments. An outcome goal might say, close a big deal by June. A process commitment says, send 1 thoughtful proposal each week and follow up kindly within 3 days. An outcome goal might say, lose a set number of pounds. A process commitment says, cook a simple dinner at home 5 nights out of 7 and take a brisk walk for 30 minutes each day. An outcome goal might say, grow a large audience. A process commitment says, publish 1 useful piece every week and reply to readers with care. The difference is not about aiming low. It is about choosing actions that sit in your control or your influence, and then repeating them long enough for compounding to start. Tie those practices directly to the virtues, so you feel progress even when the market, the boss, or the algorithm is quiet. If courage gets a weekly dose through one honest ask or one hard conversation, you are winning at courage regardless of the reply. If temperance gets daily practice through a clean shutdown time and a reasonable dinner, you are winning at temperance regardless of the number on a scale. If wisdom gets its time through focused reading and a short reflection each morning, you are winning at wisdom whether or not the week is chaotic. If justice shows up through on-time payments, fair credit, and showing up for someone who needs help, you are winning at justice even when nobody comments on it. This is how you build a life where the score you care about is not handed to you by someone else. To track this without turning it into a project, create a simple weekly check-in. At the end of the week, write 4 short lines, 1 per virtue, and grade your behavior in words you understand. You can use plain labels like strong, decent, weak, or try a simple pass or miss. Under each, note 1 sentence about what went well and 1 sentence about what to try differently next week. Keep it under 5 minutes. The aim is not to audit yourself like a boss. It is to build awareness and carry lessons forward. If you prefer something more visual, you can mark each virtue with a small symbol in your calendar on the days you practiced it. Over a month, the pattern will show you where you are consistent and where you avoid reps. It helps to pick a theme word for the year that ties the virtues together and acts like a quick North Star when you face choices. Choose a word that you will actually use in conversation with yourself. Clarity is good if you tend to scatter and want to see things cleanly before you act. Steadiness works if your challenge is sticking with the boring parts after the buzz fades. Service is strong if you want your work to help people directly and keep you from getting lost in metrics. Write the word on a sticky note near your desk and on the first page of your notebook. When you hit a dilemma, ask which option matches the word. This is not mystical. It is a shortcut for alignment. Some people worry that this focus on virtues sounds abstract. It only stays abstract if you keep it in the clouds. Bring it down by attaching each virtue to 1 concrete behavior in your mornings and 1 in your weeks. For example, wisdom can mean reading a serious page before you open your inbox and keeping a brief decision log that you review on Sunday night. Courage can mean sending 1 pitch before lunch on Monday and later in the week giving 1 piece of candid feedback respectfully. Temperance can mean stopping screens 1 hour before bed and leaving 1 meeting early if it is clearly off track and your presence is not required. Justice can mean paying contractors promptly and offering to help 1 person who is stuck, even if you receive nothing in return. These micro-actions do not require special tools. They require choices repeated often. When you design your vision this way, goals become verbs rather than trophies. You stop writing, "I will achieve this title by a certain date," and you start writing, "I practice the work that earns trust each day, and I ask for opportunities when ready." You stop writing, "I will hit a number of followers," and you start writing, "I publish something useful every week and refine based on real feedback." The reserve clause from earlier still applies. Add, "if nothing prevents me," to your commitments to keep them honest when life intrudes. A strong benefit of a virtue-first approach is resilience. If the economy swings or a plan slips, your scorecard still works. No one can take away a week where you practiced wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. That steadiness lowers the emotional noise around you and makes it easier to stay polite, keep promises, and carry momentum. It also makes collaboration smoother because people feel the difference when you prioritize fairness and clarity over self-promotion. Let's make this concrete across a few areas of life. At work, wisdom could be scheduling a short block for concentrated thinking before meetings and capturing key decisions with reasons so you can learn from them. Courage could be saying no to a misaligned project, even if it is flattering, or asking for the resources your team honestly needs, rather than hoping the gap will resolve itself. Temperance could be batching notifications into set windows so you can do real work without constant pings, and leaving the office at a reasonable hour most nights so you have a life outside email. Justice could be sharing credit in public, mentoring a junior colleague weekly, and setting clear expectations rather than letting people guess. For health, wisdom could be reading one reputable article on a topic before changing your routine and checking advice with a professional when needed. Courage could be walking into a gym for the first time or booking a medical checkup you have avoided. Temperance could be having a simple breakfast at home and keeping sweets to certain days. Justice could be respecting the time of people you exercise with and supporting their goals too. In relationships, wisdom could be listening fully before replying. Courage could be apologizing without excuses. Temperance could be avoiding late-night arguments when you are tired. And justice could be making sure tasks at home are shared fairly. You might ask how to handle conflicts between virtues. For example, courage might say, "Speak up," while temperance might say, "Wait." In those moments, use wisdom as a referee. Ask what action serves the bigger purpose with the least unnecessary harm. Then act. If you still feel torn, try a small step in the courageous direction with a temperate tone. You practice both by choosing a brave action delivered calmly and kindly. Over time, you will get better at sensing which virtue needs the rep in that situation. Another concern is perfectionism. A virtue-first vision is not a purity test. You will miss days. You will slip into old habits. The point is to notice sooner, repair faster, and continue. Avoid keeping a streak for its own sake. That can backfire. Instead, treat each day as a fresh chance to practice. If you miss your weekly courage move, do it on the next available day, rather than waiting for a perfect Monday. Keep the rituals small enough that you can do them even on hard weeks. If you like a little structure, you can give each virtue a simple question you ask yourself daily. For wisdom, ask, "Did I learn and reflect for a few minutes today?" For courage, ask, "Did I do one thing that made me uncomfortable for a good reason?" For temperance, ask, "Did I respect at least one boundary I set for myself?" For justice, ask, "Did I make someone's day easier or fairer in a concrete way?" Answering with a plain yes or no is enough. If you want detail, add a brief note. These questions keep the virtues in the front of your mind without needing an app. It also helps to connect your virtues to your role. A manager's justice might focus on transparent decisions and protecting focus time for the team. A freelancer's temperance might center on saying no to low-fit work, even when money is tempting. A student's wisdom might mean deep work blocks for study rather than constant group chats that feel productive but are not. A parent's courage might be setting firm but fair boundaries with love. Tailor the behaviors so they match your context instead of copying someone else's list. Choosing your theme word is worth a careful minute. Try a few on for size. Say them out loud. Notice which one calms you and gives you direction. If you pick clarity, let that show up in how you name files, how you title emails, and how you speak in meetings. If you pick steadiness, let that show up in consistent bedtimes, patient follow-ups, and a calm pace even when others rush. If you pick service, block time each week to mentor, volunteer, or support a community, and measure your satisfaction partly by the help you provided. Put the word where you will see it often, and use it as a tiebreaker when choices look close. A useful tool for staying aligned is a small decision filter you run before saying yes. Ask how the choice scores on each virtue. Is this wise for me and my team? Is this courageous in a real way, or just exciting? Is this temperate, or does it overload me? Is this just for the people involved? If a decision fails most of those checks, consider passing or renegotiating terms. If it passes them, Commit with energy. Keep the whole system light. You do not need fancy templates. A notebook with 4 pages and a weekly 5-minute review can carry the whole year. If you prefer digital notes, keep a single file with 4 sections and a running log of your weekly reflections. Resist turning this into a performance for others. The benefits come from quiet, repeated action, not from public declarations. If you do share the behaviors, not the brag, and invite others to join you in their own way. When outcomes do arrive, celebrate them briefly and then return to the practices that produced them. Outcomes are snapshots, virtues are habits. The world will keep shifting. New goals will appear. The process stays steady. That is how you create a year you can feel proud of, even if timelines stretch and plans change. You are not at the mercy of external approval to feel progress, because you are winning each day you act with wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice. If you are starting late or you feel behind, begin with one virtue that would change the most if you improved it this month. Maybe your work would benefit most from temperance, so you set a clear end to your day and stick to it. Maybe your relationships would benefit most from courage, so you commit to one honest conversation this week. Once that feels steady, add the next virtue. Layering keeps it realistic and prevents overwhelm. At the end of each month, do a short reflection. Scan your notes, notice where you showed up well, and choose one small tweak. Maybe wisdom needs a different reading time because mornings were noisy. Maybe justice needs calendar space for service that you kept postponing. Adjust and move. Treat the system as living, not fixed. And keep the tone of your self-talk respectful. You are building something that lasts through different jobs, projects, and roles. By anchoring your year in virtues and translating them into visible behaviors, you give yourself a durable way to feel progress and to do work you can respect. You are no longer riding the ups and downs of outcomes that take their own path. You are practicing the person you want to be, one small action at a time, and letting results follow at their own pace. That kind of vision does not require a perfect week or a perfect plan. It asks for simple, honest effort applied consistently. When you hold that line, the year takes on a quieter confidence, and your choices start to stack into a life you recognize as your own. And the easiest way to make that identity real is to wire it into your day so it runs almost on its own. A simple morning, midday, and evening rhythm gives your virtues a place to live. Keep it short, repeatable, and friendly to real life. No drama, no fancy gear, just a few minutes at key moments that nudge the day back onto your rails. Start with the morning because it sets the tone. Before you dive into messages or news, take a quiet 2 minutes for a practice the Stoics used called premeditatio malorum. That name sounds heavy, but the action is simple. You look at the key moments on your schedule and imagine what could get in the way. Maybe the meeting will run over, the traffic will bite, a tool will glitch, or your energy will dip after lunch. For each likely snag, decide in advance how a calm, wise you would respond. If a call drifts, you ask for a clear end time and suggest follow-ups by email. If traffic slows you down, you switch to a phone check-in. If a tool fails, you move to your backup plan. If your energy dips, you plan a short walk outside. You are not catastrophizing, you are rehearsing. 2 minutes is enough to take the sting out of surprises, because your brain has seen them before and already picked a response. Right after that, spend 5 minutes journaling your intentions. Keep it to 3 clean sentences so it does not become homework. One sentence for who you intend to be today, stated in plain words. Something like, "Today I will be steady and clear." One sentence for what you will do today that actually moves the needle, chosen from your control and influence list. You can name 2 or 3 concrete actions if you like, but make each one specific, like send the proposal draft, call Jamie to confirm dates, take a 30-minute walk. One sentence for how you will handle setbacks if they arrive, which is your reserve clause in practice. You can write, "If obstacles show up, I will pause, breathe, and adjust without drama, and then continue. Reading these 3 lines out loud helps because you hear your own commitment and you anchor your day around behavior you control. If writing is not your thing, record a short voice note that covers the same ground. You can do it while you make coffee or sit on the edge of the bed. The point is the intention, not the medium. If mornings are chaotic because of kids or early shifts, shrink the routine to its smallest useful version. 1 minute to picture the top obstacle and your response, and 1 sentence spoken out loud for who you will be today. You can add more on calmer mornings. The habit survives because it is flexible. Tie the morning to your virtue theme for the year so it feels like one system. If your word is clarity, your identity line might be today, I will be clear in what I choose and how I speak. If your word is steadiness, maybe today I will keep a steady pace in work and mood. If your word is service, try today I will be useful and kind to at least one person. These are not slogans, they are prompts for behavior. They also make the rest of the day smoother because decisions line up under one heading. After setting intentions, choose your first action and start it before you open anything that invites you to predict the future. Do not make it big. Make it clean and finishable. 10 minutes on a draft beats 30 minutes of inbox roulette. This tiny sequence resets your nervous system to act first and scan later, which saves you from a morning lost to incoming noise. If you like a small physical cue, straighten your posture, take 3 slow breaths, and then begin. It sounds basic because it is basic. Basics work when you repeat them. Midday is your checkpoint. Sometime around the middle of your work block, take a Stoic pause. It can be 60 seconds or 5 minutes, whatever your schedule allows. Stand up if you can. Roll your shoulders. Take a few steady breaths. Then ask yourself 3 simple questions. Am I being who I said I would be today? Am I spending my energy on the actions I chose this morning? What can I remove or delay that slipped onto my list but does not serve my role or my virtues? If you see a task that crept in because it was shiny or someone else's urgency, move it, delegate it, or let it go. If a meeting is not serving your purpose, leave politely or ask for the notes. If your phone is pulling you into loops, put it in another room or face down and on silent for the next block. This pause is not a productivity hack. It is a moment to reclaim your day from drift. Use the midday pause to check your body as well. Are you dehydrated? Are you hunched over? Are you breathing shallow? Small physical fixes feed mental steadiness. A glass of water, a stretch, a short walk around the block, a few minutes of sunlight, a snack with protein instead of sugar. None of this is glamorous. All of it pays off by the afternoon. If you have a packed schedule with no real break, steal micro moments. While waiting on a video call to start, close your eyes for 10 seconds and breathe slowly. In an elevator, roll your shoulders. In a restroom, check your posture and ask those 3 questions silently. The location does not matter. The reset does. If you work in a team, the midday pause is also a good time to realign expectations. Send a brief update on what is done and what is moving next, especially if someone is waiting on you. It takes less than 2 minutes and prevents a lot of back and forth later. If you are behind, say so plainly and suggest a new time. You are practicing justice here by keeping others in the loop and not letting silence create stress. Pair that with courage if you need to renegotiate a commitment, and temperance to avoid packing your afternoon beyond reason. Evening closes the loop. Before you sink into entertainment or chores, do a short review. Imagine Marcus Aurelius scribbling in a journal at the end of the day, not as a king, but as a person checking his conduct. You do not need to write a page. 3 quick notes are enough. First, name where you acted well today. Be specific. Maybe you answered a tough email calmly, or you focused for a solid hour on the project that matters, or you kept your word to take that walk. Second, Note where you slipped. Again, keep it factual. Maybe you checked your phone during a meeting, or you avoided a call you needed to make. Third, decide one tiny tweak for tomorrow. Make it small enough that you could do it even on a hard day. Move your phone charging spot to another room. Put the draft file on your desktop. Ask for the agenda before you accept a meeting. These small course corrections are how days improve without big speeches. Do this review at a consistent time whenever possible, because your brain learns routines. After dinner works for many people. Some prefer right before bed. Keep it under 5 minutes so it survives travel and busy nights. If you miss a day, do not stack guilt. Pick it up the next evening. The value is in the practice across weeks, not in a perfect streak. You will notice that over time, the evening review strengthens your morning intentions because you start to see what actually gets done and where you kid yourself. That feedback loop makes your plans more honest and your days more grounded. A few practical tweaks make the rhythm stick. Reduce the friction. Keep a small notebook and pen in the place where you do your morning and evening notes. If you prefer digital, use a single simple note you can open quickly. Set a quiet alarm for midday with a neutral label like pause and check. Make your prompts short and visible. If your theme word for the year is on a sticky note at eye level, you will use it. If your 3 morning sentences are on a card near your keyboard, you will read them. The goal is to make the right action the easy action. Adapt the rhythm to your context. If you are a parent with early mornings, anchor the routine to something you already do. 2 minutes of obstacle planning while the kettle boils. 1 sentence intention before you wake the kids. A midday pause in the car before you drive home. An evening review after the house quiets. If you work shifts, your morning might be at sunset and your evening in the early morning. The labels do not matter. The sequence does. If you travel, do the ultra-light version on travel days. 1-line intention, a quick midday breath, 1-line review. Keep the chain alive. Keep an eye on common traps. One trap is turning the journal into a performance. You are not writing for anyone else. Keep it brief and honest. Another trap is using the review to beat yourself up. That kills the habit. Treat it like a coach's film session. See the play, call the tweak, move on. A third trap is letting the pause go when you are busy because you think you cannot spare the time. That is exactly when it pays off most. 60 seconds to remove 2 low-value tasks can return an hour later. You can blend the earlier ideas into this rhythm without adding weight. In the morning, when you write your doing sentence, choose actions from the control and influence boxes so you are not waiting on other people. Add the reserve clause quietly to each plan. In the midday pause, check whether any worry you have is in the 3rd box, and if so, write or say a quick acceptance line before returning your attention to what you can do. In the evening, grade your day loosely by the 4 virtues rather than by outcomes you cannot force. Did you show wisdom, courage, temperance, and justice in at least one small way? If yes, mark it. If not, plan a small rep for tomorrow. This keeps your scorecard resilient when results take longer than you like. Some people like to add a 2-minute preview of tomorrow to the evening, and it can help if you keep it tiny. Glance at the calendar, confirm the first block of work, lay out whatever you need for the morning, and leave one short note to your future self about the most important first move. That way, you wake up to clarity, not confusion. If the day ahead is packed, write one firm intention to protect your first small action anyway. That is how busy days still include one real step toward what matters. You might wonder how long it takes before this feels natural. Give it a few weeks. After roughly 3 to 4 weeks of steady practice, most people notice the rhythm runs with less effort. The morning sentences come faster. The midday pause happens without an alarm because your body asks for it. The evening review becomes a quick conversation with yourself that feels normal. It is not magic. It is repetition. The strength of Stoic practice is not intensity. It is consistency. Short, regular reps build the kind of attention and steadiness you can actually feel. If you want to make the most of it, protect your sleep window, because mornings are easier when you are rested. You do not need a perfect routine. Aim for a regular bedtime most nights, screens off a little earlier, and a quiet pre-sleep wind down. A short read, gentle music, or a quick tidy beats a late-night scroll every time. When you sleep better, your morning practice is calmer, your midday pause is more effective, and your evening review is more honest. All three parts feed each other. As you practice, keep the tone down to earth. No one needs to know you are doing this. You do not earn extra points for making it complicated. The right test is whether your days feel less reactive and more intentional. You should notice fewer spikes of stress from small surprises because you rehearsed responses in the morning. You should notice less drift by early afternoon because you paused and trimmed. You should notice more useful learning because your evening review catches small patterns before they become ruts. And you should notice that your virtue word shows up in the way you talk, decide, and carry yourself. If a day goes sideways and you skip everything, run the emergency version. Before bed, take 30 seconds to write one sentence about what you will do first thing tomorrow and add "if nothing prevents me." That single move keeps the thread intact. The next morning, pick up your 2-minute plan and 5-minute journal again. You are not behind. You are back on track. Over time, this daily rhythm becomes a quiet backbone for your year. The morning helps you aim with intention. The midday pause keeps you on course when the day gets noisy. The evening review closes the loop and prepares the next day. It is simple on purpose, so it survives real schedules, travel, and messy weeks. Stick with it, keep it light, and keep it yours. When you do, your days start to run on principles instead of impulses, and the version of you that you wrote about stops being a wish and starts showing up in your calendar. All of that is easier to keep steady when your attention is not getting hijacked every few minutes by pings and endless feeds. Temperance becomes practical here. It is about designing your tools and your day so you can stay with what you meant to do, instead of being pulled into loops that were built to steal your focus. Think of the attention economy in simple terms. A lot of software is designed to keep you looking, tapping, and coming back. You do not have to fight it with willpower alone. You can change your settings, your habits, and your defaults so the pull weakens and your choices lead again. Start with your phone because that is where most interruptions begin. The goal is to make it a tool, not a slot machine. Remove the apps you do not truly need. If deleting feels drastic, offload them or sign out so opening them becomes inconvenient. Move entertainment apps off the home screen and into a folder on a later screen. Keep your home screen quiet, with only a few essentials like maps, camera, calendar, and the one messaging app you actually use for real people. Choose a calm wallpaper and hide notification badges so you are not greeted with red dots that act like tiny alarms. Turn off every notification that does not come from a human. Promotions, suggested posts, breaking news, likes, and new video alerts can all go. Keep calls from favorites and direct messages that matter. If you worry about missing something urgent, set an emergency bypass for a few people, and you will still be reachable when it truly counts. On the laptop, use the same idea. Turn off notification banners and sounds. Hide unread counts in your email and chat clients. Make the default state silent and distraction-free. Keep only the tabs you need open for the task in front of you. If you tend to wander into feeds, use a clean browser profile that does not auto-log you into social sites, so you have to make a deliberate choice to go there. The friction helps. Some people like grayscale mode because it removes the color cues that lure you into apps. Try it if you are curious, and keep it only if it actually helps you. Next, give your inboxes windows instead of a constant open door. Pick specific times to check email and messages. Many people find that a window mid-morning and another late afternoon is enough. Adjust to your role, but the principle stands. You check on purpose rather than grazing all day. When you adopt windows, An honest autoresponder can help you set expectations without sounding cold. A simple note works. I check email twice a day, late morning and late afternoon. If something is time-sensitive, please call or text. You are not making a speech. You are letting people know how to reach you when it matters. For chat tools, set a status that says when you are heads down and when you will be back. If your job demands responsiveness, define tiers with your team. Phone or a specific channel is for true urgencies. Chat is for timely collaboration. Email is for non-urgent items. Clear lanes reduce the pressure to be everywhere at once. Now replace doom scrolling with a reading pipeline that feeds your mind without draining your focus. When you see a long article or a thoughtful thread, save it to a read later app instead of skimming right now. Plan a daily 20-minute reading block with your device on airplane mode and your notifications off. Read in a relaxed way, and if something is worth keeping, capture a brief note in a notebook or a simple note file. That note can be 1 or 2 sentences about why it mattered or how you might use it. The point is to consume less fluff and more substance, then keep a trace of what you learned so it builds over time. If you prefer paper, print a piece or keep a book near your desk and read a few pages in that same block. Social media needs its own plan, or it will eat your plan. Treat it like a publishing and connection tool rather than an entertainment source. Decide when you will create or post and when you will check replies. Many people do well with one creation window a few times a week and one small check-in later. Delete social apps from your phone if you can, or at least sign out. Use the browser on your computer with the feeds closed by default and a time limit you respect. If your work depends on staying visible, batch your content and schedule it. The space you get back for real work, real conversations, and rest is worth the small inconvenience. Temperance also means limiting how often you let news set your mood. Breaking news is built to keep you hooked. Choose 1 or 2 reliable sources and check them at set times, not all day. A quick read in late afternoon or early evening keeps you informed without hijacking your morning. If a big event happens, you will hear about it anyway. You are not hiding. You are choosing when to engage so your priorities stay clear. A weekly digital Sabbath adds depth to all of this. Pick a half day or more once a week where you go fully offline. Tell the people who need to know. Put your phone in a drawer or a bag in another room. Plan a few simple offline activities ahead of time so you do not default to screens out of habit. Walk in a park, cook something slow, read a book, meet a friend without phones on the table. Tidy a room, sit on a bench and do nothing for a few minutes. If you are worried about being unreachable, share an emergency contact number with one trusted person or carry a basic phone. The idea is to let your attention refill on real life rather than on the next hit of novelty. At first, you might feel twitchy. That passes. After a few weeks, you will likely look forward to the quiet. Workplaces can make or break your attention diet. So set a few norms for yourself and, where possible, with your team. Start by blocking focused time on your calendar. Label it clearly and honor it. Close the door if you have one, or put on headphones as a visible signal. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb and turn on a focus mode that allows only your emergency contacts. When co-workers see your pattern and your output, many will respect it or even copy it. After meetings, take 30 seconds to write down the one next step so you do not need to revisit the conversation to remember what you promised. That small move reduces follow-up churn later. Email deserves a cleaner approach because it multiplies quickly. When you open it during your window, move fast and decide. If an email can be handled in under 2 minutes, do it. If it needs more time, turn it into a task with a clear next action and a time box, then archive the email. If it belongs to someone else, forward it with a short, polite note explaining what you need. If it is not needed, delete or archive. Avoid keeping emails as to-do items in your inbox. That turns the inbox into a stress shelf. Keep your replies short, kind, and clear, and avoid creating more email by adding unnecessary people to threads. Some roles require you to be reachable. If that is you, temperance is about clear edges, not total blockade. You might define on-call hours and protect your off hours fiercely. You might use a separate device for on-call work so that your personal time does not get contaminated by work apps. You might ask your team to agree on what counts as urgent and what can wait until the next window. If you manage others, be explicit. Delayed replies outside normal hours are normal and respected. Your team will match your behavior, not your slogans. To keep your environment supportive, do a small attention reset once a month. Look at your devices and remove any new apps that snuck in without a good reason. Review your notifications again and turn off anything that drifted back on. Clean your home screen. Unsubscribe from newsletters and channels that no longer serve you. Cancel subscriptions you no longer use. These checks take a few minutes and save you hours later. If you like numbers, you can glance at your screen time report and, instead of judging, pick one small tweak for the next week. Maybe it is moving an app off the home screen, or cutting one social session, or adding a walk to your midday pause. Cravings for quick hits of novelty will show up. Expect them. When you feel the urge to check something that is not in your plan, try a 2-minute delay. Tell yourself, after I finish this paragraph, or after I stand and stretch, I can check. Most urges fade if you give them a moment. If they do not and you still want to check, do it during your next window. This is not about being strict for its own sake. It is about teaching your brain that you, not the ping, decide when to switch. It helps to build small replacements that scratch the same itch without wrecking your focus. If you usually scroll when you are bored, keep a short list of offline micro-activities nearby. A quick walk, a glass of water, a few push-ups, a page of a book, a 5-minute tidy, a call to a friend. Choose something that does not launch a new digital loop. In a few days, these small swaps become easier than reaching for your phone because you have made them the default. Families and housemates can turn this into a shared effort. A phone basket near the door makes it easy to drop devices during meals or conversations. Agree on quiet hours in the evening where screens stay away from the bedroom. Set a shared offline block on the weekend where you all go outside or play a game or cook together. You do not need rules for everything. A few simple agreements lower friction and remove the little negotiations that sap energy. Travel can stress attention, so prepare lightly. Download maps, boarding passes, playlists, and reading before you leave. Put your phone on airplane mode more often than you think you can. Use the time in transit to write by hand, think, or rest. If you want photos, take them, and then put the phone away. Posting can wait. When you return, expect that it will take a day to get back into your windows and your reading block. That is normal. Start with one simple action and let the structure carry you. As you run this attention diet for a few weeks, you will likely notice a few changes. The morning feels quieter because there are fewer alerts waiting for you. Work blocks go deeper because you are not splitting your attention as often. Evenings improve because your brain is not revved up by 100 rapid switches. You will still have messy days. You will still slip and get sucked into something. The difference is that you will catch it faster and reset with less drama. Temperance is not about never indulging. It is about knowing you can choose and making that choice most of the time. If you want a simple way to measure success without turning it into a spreadsheet, ask yourself 3 questions at the end of the week. Did I control when I checked my inboxes most of the time? Did I protect at least 2 deep work blocks? Did I take 1 meaningful offline break? If you can say yes to those, you are on track. If not, pick 1 small adjustment and try again next week. Keep the tone friendly. You are building capacity, not passing a test. One last point that matters. Be careful with self-talk. It is easy to call yourself weak or addicted when you struggle to put the phone down. Remember that many tools are built to keep you hooked. You are not failing because you find them compelling. You are learning how to set up your environment so it supports you. Every toggle you flip, every app you remove, every window you protect is a choice toward the kind of day you want. And every time you slip and then come back, you are proving to yourself that you can reset. Temperance in the attention economy is not austere. It is merciful. It gives you backspace to think, work, and enjoy your life without the constant pull of novelty. It makes your daily rhythm from earlier actually possible on normal days, not just ideal ones. It reduces noise so wisdom has room. It creates edges so courage can show up when needed. And it makes justice easier because you are less frazzled with the people around you. Design your phone and laptop to be boring when you want them to be. Give your inbox a few windows. Build a small reading habit that feels like food, not candy. Take regular time fully offline. When you do these simple things with some consistency, your attention starts to feel like it belongs to you again, and that change quietly improves everything else you are trying to build this year. With your attention back under your control, the next practical move is to prepare for the days when plans wobble anyway. Negative visualization and small voluntary discomforts do that job. They build the reflex to stay steady when something breaks, slips, or surprises you, and they train your body and mind to tolerate mild stress without panic. This is not gloom and doom. It is rehearsal and conditioning, run on a friendly schedule you can keep for the rest of the year. Think of negative visualization as a weekly drill, deeper than the quick morning preview you do to spot obstacles. Set aside a short block once a week, maybe on Sunday evening or Monday morning, and pick one plan, meeting, tool, or timeline that matters. Imagine, in plain detail, how it could go wrong and write down your composed response. Keep it concrete and brief. If the client cancels at the last minute, you acknowledge it, send a calm note, and fill the hour by finishing a draft that moved yesterday. If the software update breaks your workflow, you switch to a backup, notify teammates, and document the workaround. If your travel is delayed, you move the presentation online, trim it to the essentials, and record a short fallback. You are not predicting disaster. You are preloading a response. 10 to 15 minutes is enough for this drill. Start by naming the scenario in one sentence, then write 3 or 4 lines that describe your steady response, and finish with the next small step you can take today to make that response easier. Maybe it is downloading the previous version of a tool, saving a copy of a deck offline, or drafting a backup email. Close the page and get on with your day. The value comes from repetition, not from crafting a perfect plan. This is different from worry. Worry loops without choices and leaves you tense. Negative visualization makes worry actionable. You look at one plausible snag, you decide what you would do, and you leave it there. If your mind tries to spiral into a chain of what-ifs, set a limit. Pick one branch, rehearse it, and stop. You can add the reserve clause to your plan with a quiet "if nothing prevents me," which signals high intent without clinging to a fragile schedule. Over a few weeks, your brain learns that surprise does not equal chaos. It equals a plan you have already written. To keep the practice honest, keep a simple log. Date the drill in words, name the scenario, write your response, and add one sentence at the end of the week about whether the rehearsal helped. You are collecting your own data. After a month, you will see patterns. Maybe you worry most about timing issues, so you start adding buffers. Maybe you tend to overestimate how bad a delay would be, and your notes remind you that work still moved. The log also gives you language you can reuse when things do wobble, which saves time during stress. Now pair the mental rehearsal with small voluntary discomforts. The idea is not punishment, it is training. By choosing mild difficulty on purpose, you raise your tolerance for stress, you build confidence, and you relearn that urges pass. Keep it gentle and safe. If you have any medical concerns, talk to a professional before changing exercise, diet, or exposure routines. The point is to practice self-command, not to get hurt or prove anything to anyone. Pick a few options that fit your life. A short cold shower for 30 to 60 seconds at the end of a warm shower trains your breath and your composure. A brisk walk in bad weather with the right jacket reminds you that you do not need perfect conditions to move. Leaving the car at home for short errands and walking or riding a bike changes the default from comfort to effort in a healthy way. Taking the stairs for a few flights when you have time builds a quiet toughness without turning into a stunt. Skipping dessert once or twice a week or leaving the phone behind for a neighborhood walk rebuilds your ability to feel an urge and not answer it immediately. None of this requires heroics. It requires consistency. Occasionally choose the harder but wiser path in social moments. Ask the tough question in a meeting, even if your voice shakes a little. Make the awkward apology without padding it with excuses. Decline an invitation when you know you need rest. Sit with frustration for a minute instead of numbing it with a feed. These are voluntary discomforts too, and they build courage where it counts, in everyday choices that shape your character. Track these reps lightly so you can see progress. Open a page each week and write the date in words, the discomfort you chose, how you felt before, during, and after, and one note about any benefit you noticed. Maybe your next meeting felt easier because the cold water already taught you to breathe. Maybe the walk in the rain lifted your mood. Maybe saying no freed an evening for real rest. Seeing that proof on paper keeps motivation steady when the novelty wears off. This practice lines up with the virtue frame you set earlier. Negative visualization is wisdom in action because you think clearly before you are pressured. Voluntary discomfort is temperance because you choose limits and stick to them. The social moves are courage because you do what is right even when it is uncomfortable. And the way you show up for others during setbacks is justice because you stay fair and helpful even when the situation is not ideal. When you see it like that, the drills stop feeling random. They become reps for your identity. Be careful not to overdo it. The aim is gentle training, not extremes. If cold exposure makes you dizzy, skip it. If fasting triggers issues for you, choose a different practice. If a workout hurts in a sharp way, stop and adjust. Build up slowly. Start with 1 or 2 small discomforts a week and 1 negative visualization drill. After a month, reassess. You can increase the dose if you are handling it well, or keep it where it is if life is full. Consistency beats intensity here. Let's look at realistic scenarios for the weekly drill so you can see how straightforward it is. Imagine you plan to release a feature on Friday, and your teammate falls ill on Thursday. You write that you will freeze scope, notify everyone affected with a clear note, ship the stable subset, and schedule the rest for the following week. Imagine your big pitch meeting is cancelled an hour before start. You write that you will ask for the earliest available slot, send a crisp summary deck, and use the freed time to rehearse and tighten the opening. Imagine your laptop dies midday. You write that you will switch to your backup device or a borrowed machine, pull files from cloud storage, and send a brief heads up so people know your response time might slow. In each case, you add one small action today that increases readiness, like keeping a spare charger at work or saving a local copy of the deck. The acceptance line sits beside it. Cancellations happen, delays happen, devices fail, and none of that stops me from doing my part. For personal life, run the same play. Suppose a child wakes up sick on a day you planned a long work sprint. You write that you will inform your manager early, switch to tasks that fit around care, and protect one small block for the most important action. Suppose dinner burns and you are tired. You write that you will keep the mood light, order something simple, and sit together anyway. Suppose the car will not start. You write that you will call roadside support, notify anyone expecting you, and use the waiting time to read or map alternatives. The point is to keep agency alive when circumstances change. Voluntary discomfort can be financial and social too, handled with care. A simple no-spend day each week, where you buy only essentials you already planned, trains restraint without drama. Wearing the same plain outfit for a day or two in a row cuts the pull of vanity and saves decision energy. Choosing to repair something instead of replacing it at once grows patience. Taking public transit when it is safe and available, even if it is slower, builds tolerance for mild inconvenience. Purposeful boredom is another good rep. Sit quietly for a few minutes without a device and let your mind settle. These moves are small, but they create a margin of calm you can use when life gets loud. Over time, the combination of weekly rehearsal and discomfort turns surprises into drills. You stop bracing and start responding. That steadiness frees attention for daily focused work, relationships, and parts of living. And that steadiness pays off most when real life pushes back in ways you did not choose. This is where a simple mindset shift helps you turn setbacks into useful fuel. The Stoics called it amor fati, which just means loving your fate, not in a dramatic way, but as a decision to work with events instead of arguing with them. Pair it with a short exercise called the view from above, which is a quick mental zoom out that shrinks problems to size and brings your focus back to the next right move. Let's keep it concrete. Amor fati is not pretending bad things are good. It is choosing to treat what happens as material for practice. Something unwanted happens, and instead of spinning on why it should not have happened, you ask a single question. What virtue is this situation asking me to practice right now? Wisdom, courage, temperance, or justice? Pick one, then choose one small action that expresses that virtue today. You do not need a big plan. You need one proof of character you can deliver before bed. That's how you stop the emotional bleed and regain a sense of agency without denying the reality in front of you. Here is a quick in-the-moment protocol you can run when the hit lands. Pause for one slow breath and say quietly, "The obstacle is training." That phrase is not a slogan. It is a reminder that this is a rep you can use. Name the feeling you have to normalize it. Frustrated, worried, embarrassed, angry, sad. Feelings are not commands. Then ask the virtue question. If the answer is courage, maybe the action is making the awkward call right now. If the answer is temperance, maybe the action is saying less, stepping away, and sticking to your boundaries. If it is wisdom, maybe the action is seeking one piece of data before reacting. If it is justice, maybe the action is giving credit, apologizing fairly, or protecting someone who could be harmed. Finish by writing one acceptance line about the part you do not control, and one sentence about the next step you will take. This whole flow can take under 2 minutes. You can do it in a hallway, at your desk, or sitting in your car. The view from above fits right after that, or whenever you feel your thinking get claustrophobic. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself from the ceiling, then from the roof, then from a bird's eye view over your neighborhood. Zoom out to your city, your region, your country, and then the planet. Notice the scale of your street inside all of that. Now zoom out in time. Think of this week inside this year, then inside the next decade. You do not need to force meaning. Just notice scale. Your problem is real, but it is not the whole universe. That simple perspective unlocks a less dramatic, more useful response when you open your eyes. The point is not to dismiss your problem. It is to loosen the grip of catastrophizing so you can act sanely. Apply this to normal, hard days. The client changes the brief at the last minute. You pause, say the obstacle is training, and ask the virtue question. Courage might mean pushing back politely to protect the deadline, or wisdom might mean reframing the scope so you can ship a smaller version well. Temperance might mean declining the urge to rant in the group chat. Justice might mean absorbing only what is fair and not throwing blame down the chain. Your one concrete action could be a clear email that proposes options A and B with trade-offs, and a short call to align. Then you run the view from above for 1 minute. Remember that this is one day and one project in 1 year, and you get back to work. Take a personal example. A family argument flares up and catches you off guard. Amor fati here is not liking the conflict. It is deciding you will use it to practice something worthwhile. You breathe, name the feeling, and ask the virtue question. Maybe temperance is the right virtue. You choose silence until you can speak calmly. Your action is, I will listen fully and set a time to talk when we both cool down. Or maybe justice is called for. You apologize for your part without adding a but, and you propose a fair path forward. If you struggle to let go of the heat, use the view from above for 30 seconds. Imagine your home from a drone, then from the point of view of a satellite. The argument shrinks just enough for you to remember you care about this person more than winning a point. Then you take the next small step that fits that truth. The same approach works with health setbacks. You sprain an ankle or catch a bug right before a planned race. The feeling might be disappointment or anger. The virtue could be wisdom or temperance. Wisdom might mean booking a telehealth visit and adjusting your training plan rather than pushing through. Temperance might mean accepting rest and redirecting your energy to upper body work or mobility. Your action is to schedule the appointment and write a revised plan for the next 7 days. The acceptance line is, this delay is real. I will use it to recover and tune the rest of my routine. Use the view from above to remember that a month is a small slice of a long training story. Money stress is another common case. A freelance project falls through or a bill is higher than expected. After the first wave of emotion, ask the virtue question. Courage could mean making 2 outreach calls you have avoided. Wisdom could mean reviewing your budget and canceling a subscription that no longer serves you. Justice could mean paying someone you owe on time anyway and communicating proactively. Temperance could mean a no-spend week to regain control. Choose one action you can do today and one for tomorrow morning. Run the view from above to cool the urgency enough to think clearly, then do the action. Amor fati is not the same as passivity. You are not saying everything is fine. You are saying, since this is here, I will use it. That stance often uncovers options you could not see while you were busy resisting reality. It also tends to reduce resentment, which keeps your behavior cleaner with the people around you. Collaboration goes up when you stop making the situation heavier with extra drama. There is a risk of misusing this idea as a way to suppress emotions or tolerate harm that should be opposed. Do not do that. If someone is mistreating you or others, justice might demand strong action or boundaries. Amor fati then means committing to the work of changing what you can with a clear head, not accepting the harm. Feelings deserve space. If an event is truly painful, give yourself time to process it, alone or with someone you trust, and seek professional support if needed. The sequence still applies. Accept that this is here. Ask what virtue is needed and choose one action. Sometimes the action is rest, therapy, or a hard conversation that protects your dignity. You can make this easier by building short phrases into your day. Keep the obstacle is training on a card on your desk or as your phone lock screen. Pick a second line that fits you, maybe cooperate with reality or act the part now. When something goes sideways, read the line, breathe once, and proceed with the virtue question. If you have a theme word for the year, use it here too. If your word is steadiness, ask how a steady person handles this. If it is service, ask how you can be useful even when plans changed. These tiny cues interrupt spirals and trigger the behavior you want. Another place this mindset helps is with long, slow adversities that do not resolve quickly. caregiving, chronic illness, a tough job market, rebuilding after a loss. Here, amor fati is a daily choice to do good work within constraints you did not pick. The virtues guide the tone. Wisdom might be learning about resources and pacing yourself. Courage might be asking for help and saying no to what you cannot carry. Temperance might be sticking to a bedtime or a short movement routine so you do not burn out. Justice might be kindness to the people in the same boat and clear communication with those who depend on you. View from above helps you handle the scale without drowning. You remember this is a season, not your entire identity, and you focus on the 2 or 3 controllable actions each day that keep you moving. If you tend to ruminate, set an appointment with your worry. Give it 15 minutes in the late afternoon to write every concern you have about a problem. Then run the virtue question on the top 2 items and pick one action for each. Outside that window, when the worry tries to grab you, say, "I have time set aside for you later," and return to your task. This is not a trick. It is a boundary. You are treating your mind fairly by letting it be heard at a time that does not wreck your workday. Use your evening review to reinforce the shift. Instead of grading the day by wins or losses, ask whether you practiced the right virtues when adversity showed up. Did you demonstrate wisdom by pausing and getting facts? Did you practice courage by speaking up? Did you hold temperance by not letting impulses run you? Did you act justly with the people involved? Write one line about where you did well and one line about the tweak for tomorrow. This turns hard days into curriculum instead of setbacks that define you. Teams can adopt this language in a simple way. When a project hits friction, you can say out loud, "The obstacle is training. Here is how we adapt." You ask what virtue the team needs now. Maybe it is courage to cut scope, justice to share credit and blame accurately, or temperance to slow down and fix the root cause instead of patching. A short view from above in a meeting can also help. Name the broader timeline, the customer's real need, and the long-term relationship. People relax a notch and better decisions follow. A few realistic scenes can anchor this. A platform changes its algorithm and your reach tanks. You accept that the platform is outside your control. The virtue is wisdom and courage. You analyze the data calmly, adjust your content strategy, diversify channels, and talk to your audience directly through an email list you control. You say the obstacle is training, and you treat the shock as a lesson in not building on rented land. The view from above shows you that this is one platform among many over many years. A storm ruins an outdoor event you organized. The given is the weather. The virtue is temperance and justice. You notify people early, offer refunds or a new date, and move what you can indoors. You thank volunteers, you apologize clearly without self-flagellation, and you capture lessons for planning. The view from above reminds you that safety and trust matter more than one perfect day, and you act accordingly. A colleague takes credit for your idea in a meeting. The impulse might be anger. The virtue could be courage with justice. You state calmly in the room, "I am glad this is resonating. When I drafted the initial version last week, the goal was X. I suggest we add Y next." You then follow up privately to set a boundary. If needed, you bring it to your manager with receipts, not accusations. The view from above helps you avoid burning a bridge you might need while still protecting your standing. A relative makes a hurtful comment at dinner. The virtue might be temperance and justice. You choose a measured response, perhaps changing the subject in the moment and addressing it later one-on-one. You decide whether this is a pattern that requires a firmer boundary. The view from above helps you keep the family gathering intact while still planning a clear conversation. Over months of practicing these moves, you will likely notice a drop in catastrophic language in your self-talk. You find it easier to say "this is unpleasant" and "I can handle it" than to say "this ruins everything." That shift is not about being positive. It is about being accurate and useful. You still feel what you feel. you still care about outcomes. You just stop tying your identity to them and start tying it to how you behave under pressure. To keep the practice alive, combine it with the earlier tools. Keep sorting events into control, influence, and outside. Use your daily rhythm to preview obstacles in the morning, insert a pause at midday, and review at night. Protect your attention so you have bandwidth to respond well. Run weekly negative visualizations and gentle discomforts so the real hits sting less. When the hit lands, flip to amor fati and the view from above. Ask the virtue question, pick one concrete action, speak the phrase, and move. This is one system, not a collection of tricks. The end result you are aiming for is not invulnerability. It is cooperation with reality. You learn to stop negotiating with what already happened and start collaborating with it. You lower the noise around problems so you can do the next right thing. You earn a reputation with yourself and with others for being steady, fair, and useful when things are hard. That reputation opens doors and builds trust in a way no performance can match. And most importantly, it lets you live your days with less friction inside your own head, which is a form of freedom you can carry anywhere. And that kind of cooperation with reality shows up most clearly in how you talk to people, how you listen, and how you set limits without turning every request into a fight. Justice and kindness sound abstract, but they get real in your daily speech and in the way you protect your time and energy. If you make those two your default, relationships stop feeling like constant negotiations and start feeling like steady partnerships. A simple place to start is deciding that your speech will be honest, brief, and helpful. Honest means you do not bend facts to make yourself look better or to win the moment. Brief means you cut the extra padding that confuses people and wastes time. Helpful means you ask whether your words will move the situation forward for the person in front of you, not just for you. Before you speak or send a message, run a quick check in your head. Is this true? Is this necessary? Is this phrased in a way that will make the next step clearer? If the answer is yes, say it plainly. If the answer is no, either refine it or keep it to yourself. This one habit reduces gossip, prevents accidental harm, and builds a reputation for reliability. Listening is half of speech, and most people underestimate how much trust it creates. A practical rule is the 2 ears, 1 mouth ratio. Aim to listen twice as much as you speak. When someone explains a view you disagree with, try to state their idea back to them in the strongest way you can. Then ask if you got it right. You do not need a fancy name for this. You are just proving that you heard and understood the best version of their point before you add yours. It takes a little patience, and it lowers defensiveness fast because people feel seen. Once they nod, share your view calmly and connect it to the shared goal. You can say, "Here is what I think, here is why I think it, and here is where I could be wrong." That last line keeps the door open and invites collaboration. Boundaries come next, and they are essential in a year that can keep you always on if you let it. Kind boundaries are clear, consistent, and delivered without drama. A clean way to set one is to state what you can do, what you cannot do, and what you propose instead. You might say, "I cannot join a meeting without an agenda, but I can review a summary and send feedback by tomorrow afternoon." Or, "I am not available after early evening, but I will reply by late morning tomorrow." Or, "I cannot take on that extra project right now, but if we shift the deadline on the other one, I can help." The tone is firm and respectful. You do not need a paragraph of excuses. A sentence or two is enough. People may push once or twice. Hold the line kindly and repeat your terms. Over time, your consistency teaches others how to work with you. Digital boundaries matter too because so much communication is text. Be explicit about your response windows and your status, like you did in your attention reset. Put a simple line in your email signature that sets expectations. Use concise status messages in chat tools. Let people know the best way to reach you if something is urgent. Then honor your own system. If you reply at all hours to be helpful, you teach people to expect that. If you answer only within your stated windows, most people adapt and your stress drops. Justice in relationships starts with basic fairness. Give credit publicly and quickly. When you share work, name the people who contributed. If you made a promise, keep it, or communicate early if you cannot. If you owe someone money, pay on time. If you run a meeting, start on time and end on time. If someone delivers for you, say thank you in a way that fits them, not just you. These simple habits create trust. They also prevent resentment from building up under the surface. If you mess up, which you will, own it without hedging. Say what you did, acknowledge the impact, say you are sorry, and say what you will do to make it right. Then do it. No long speeches, no defensive explanations. The faster you repair, the stronger the relationship becomes. There will be moments when you need to give feedback, and it does not have to be a drama. Prepare by deciding your intent. Your goal is to help the person succeed and to protect the work or the relationship, not to vent. Then describe what happened in plain facts, share the effect it had, and ask for their view. After you hear them, propose a clear next step and ask if they agree. Keep the tone calm. If you care about them, say that too. You can do this in a few minutes. In writing, keep it short and friendly. In person, keep your voice steady and your volume low. People can hear you better when they do not feel attacked. Handling conflict is part of any honest life. When a conversation heats up, slow everything down. Lower your voice, leave pauses, ask shorter questions. Name what you are both trying to solve. If you need to, call a short break and set a time to continue. You can say, I want to get this right, and I am getting too heated to be useful. Can we pick this up in 1 hour? That single move prevents a lot of damage. When you return, start by summarizing the other person's view and the shared goal, then make your case simply. Stay with the issue. Do not drag in old history unless it is directly relevant. If you reach an impasse, propose a small experiment and a review date rather than arguing in circles. Protection from gossip is another justice move. If someone speaks badly about a third person who is not present, steer the talk back to facts or suggest taking the concern to the person who can solve it. You can say, I do not want to speak about them without them. Let us ask them directly, or can we focus on the specific problem we need to solve? If you have to carry a message, carry it accurately and without color. Words travel fast and mutate. Kind people are careful couriers. Clear writing helps more than you think. Start messages with the point in the first line. Say what you need, by when and why. Use short sentences and simple words. Put action items at the end with names attached. If you need a decision, ask for it directly and offer the options in plain terms. Thank people for their time. If the conversation is complex, suggest a short call and send a recap afterward. Recaps are underrated. They capture agreements while everyone still remembers them and prevent future arguments about who said what. Social media is full of traps for the careless. Assume your posts are public and permanent. Do not share private messages without permission. Do not pile on people for sport. If you are tempted to be sarcastic, step away. Text strips tone. If you want to challenge an idea, do it without attacking the person. You can say, I see it differently for these reasons, and here is a source, or I am missing something. Can you show me how you got there? If a thread turns hostile, disengage. You are not obligated to argue with strangers. Protect your peace. Curate who you follow, so your feed contains more examples of thoughtful speech than outrage. Boundaries at home matter as much as at work. If chores or mental load feel uneven, do not stew in silence. Sit down and list the tasks you both handle, then decide how to rebalance in a way that respects each person's bandwidth. Speak concretely. I will handle meals on weekdays. You will handle dishes and trash. I will book medical appointments. You will manage school emails, review in a week, and adjust. Justice in a household looks like shared responsibility and predictable follow-through. Kindness looks like noticing when the other person is overloaded and trading duties without keeping score forever. Friendships improve when you practice clarity. If you are late, send a quick heads up and a new accurate time. If you cannot make it, say so early. If money is tight, suggest low-cost plans without embarrassment. If you need space, ask for it directly and give a time when you will reconnect. If a friend crosses a line, tell them kindly and specifically, "I care about you, and that joke landed poorly for me. Please skip it next time." Most people will take the cue and correct course. If they repeatedly do not, adjust access. You do not need to make a scene. Just move toward the friendships where respect flows both ways. In professional settings, set boundary language you can reuse. "That does not work for me. Here is what will." "I cannot meet that timeline with the current scope. Here are 2 options that could." "I am booked at that time. Can we choose another slot?" Another. "I do not have the expertise for this. The right person is X." You get faster and calmer when you do not have to invent new words under pressure. Keep the tone positive and collaborative. You are saying no to a plan, not to a person. One mistake to watch is over-explaining. When you set a boundary, you do not owe a long personal story. The more reasons you add, the more people will try to argue with your reasons. A short, respectful no, followed by what you can do, carries more weight than a wall of text. Another mistake is sharpening your tone to force compliance. That works short-term and damages trust long-term. You want people to take your words seriously because you are consistent, not because you are intimidating. Justice also means sharing information fairly. If you know something that will affect a teammate, tell them early. If you cannot share, say so clearly instead of hinting. In group work, do not hoard context to protect your power. Open information tends to improve the work and lower confusion. Credit travels with transparency. When you make a decision, explain the why with enough detail for people to follow, even if they disagree. They may not love the outcome, but they will respect the process. That respect is the glue that keeps groups stable during stress. Kindness is not the same as pleasing everyone. Sometimes the kindest act is a firm no or a tough truth delivered gently. If a colleague is underperforming, pretending not to notice does not help them. If a friend is about to make a bad move, silence is not care. The test is your intent and your delivery. Aim to help, be specific, keep your voice level, and stay available to support the fix. Cross-cultural and personality differences can complicate communication. Stay curious. Ask how someone prefers to receive feedback. Ask if they like directness or if they prefer a softer approach. Ask about working hours and holidays that matter to them. Justice includes respect for differences in style and schedule. You do not have to guess. A few questions save a pile of assumptions. Your own inner speech sets the ceiling for your outer speech. If you talk to yourself with contempt, it is hard to be truly kind to others. Keep your self-talk factual and respectful. When you mess up, say, "I made a mistake here. Here is how I will fix it," instead of, "I always mess up." That shift keeps your mood steady and stops you from dumping your frustration on people who did nothing wrong. End your days with a quick relational check alongside your regular review. Think of 3 simple prompts. Where did I speak with clarity and care? Where did I let frustration push my tone too hard? What is one small repair or thank you I can send tomorrow morning? Then send it. A short note that says, "Thanks for covering that task," or "I was sharp in our call. That was not fair. Here is what I will do next," does more for trust than any slogan. Do not wait for perfect timing. Small, quick repairs keep relationships strong. If you lead others, your words carry extra weight. Say less and make it count. Share credit widely. Take blame inward and protect your team from avoidable noise. Be explicit about boundaries that protect their focus. Do not send non-urgent messages late at night. If you do for your own reasons, say clearly that no response is expected until daytime. Model disagreement without hostility. Show how to push back on scope without attacking people. Your example sets the culture more than your policies. In family or close partnerships, kindness grows from simple daily maintenance. Say good morning and good night with presence. Put the phone away during meals. Notice small wins and say them out loud. When you argue, stay on the topic and avoid labels. Ask for what you want rather than hinting. If you need help, ask for it clearly and thank the person when they do it. These moves sound basic, and they are. Basics keep bonds strong. None of this is about being perfect. You will misspeak, overcommit, or answer too sharply. Catch it early, repair it quickly, and recommit. Justice and kindness are not moods. They are repeated behaviors. The payoff is a quieter inbox, fewer misunderstandings, and a network of people who know they can trust your word. You make it easier for others to work with you and to be honest with you. In a noisy year, that is a real edge. The final thought to keep in your pocket is simple. Speak to people in a way that makes the next step easier. Set boundaries that protect what matters without making enemies. Treat credit, time, and attention as things to share fairly. If you do that most days, your relationships will carry you when plans change, and your days will feel less like defense and more like steady progress with people you respect. That steady progress with people you respect gets even easier when your workday makes the right behavior the default. A simple system does more than good intentions because it removes friction from doing the next right thing. The Stoic angle is straightforward here. Design a day that favors process over outcomes, focus over busyness, and clear finish lines over vague effort. You still aim high, you still care about results, but you stop trying to control the scoreboard and start controlling your plays. Begin by shaping the shape of your day. Give your most important work a real container. Time boxing is a fancy word for scheduling a fixed block for a single task. A good pattern is one deep block of roughly 90 minutes in the morning for your hardest task, another shorter deep block later, and then lighter admin in the remaining windows. Put the hardest block first whenever you can. Morning energy is limited, and you want it pointed at work that actually moves the mission. When the block starts, single task. That just means you pick one thing and stick with it until the block ends. You can use airplane mode, a closed door, headphones, or a public note to teammates that says you are heads down until late morning, unless something truly urgent arises. Public commitments work because they reduce social interruptions and make you more likely to keep your promise to yourself. Each block needs a clear finish line. Before you start, decide what done looks like for this session. You can say, by the end of this block I will draft a one-page outline, or I will produce a working prototype, or I will write and send 3 follow-ups. Keep it visible. A finish line turns effort into completion. If you still have time when you hit it, start the next small step. If you do not finish by the end, write one sentence for where to pick up next time. That way you do not waste 15 minutes later remembering what you were doing. Convert big goals into checkable behaviors so you can win today. A checkable behavior is a small action you can verify at the end of a block. Draft, ship, follow up, iterate. If ship sounds like jargon, think of it as delivering something concrete that someone else can use or react to. Instead of planning to improve the product this quarter, plan to push one useful change each week. Instead of trying to become a better writer, plan to publish one useful piece every week. Instead of aiming to be more proactive with clients, plan to send a thoughtful update every Tuesday morning and follow up on Thursday afternoon. Outcomes will follow at their own pace. You score yourself on the behaviors you controlled. Protect the deep blocks the way you would protect a flight or a medical appointment. Put them on your calendar with a name that is clear, not cryptic. You can add a short note in your team chat each morning saying you are focused for the next 90 minutes and back at a stated time. If you work in an office, a closed door or a small sign works. If you work from home, headphones and a phone in another room help. You are not being precious. You are making it easier to do the work everyone counts on. Meetings deserve a stricter gate. A lot of hours vanish because the default answer to uncertainty is another call. Switch the default to asynchronous first. That just means you try to handle the question with a short document or a clear message before scheduling time. If a meeting is truly needed, ask for an agenda and a decision owner ahead of time. Start on time, end on time, and capture decisions and next steps in writing. Many conversations fit into 30 minutes if you prepare. If you have the authority, reduce recurring meetings that exist out of habit. Turn weekly status updates into a shared note people update by a set time and only meet when the note reveals a real question. You are not anti-meeting. You are pro-purpose. Batch the shallow tasks so they stop leaking into every hour. Shallow tasks are the small necessary items that do not require deep concentration. Email, scheduling, approvals, receipts, basic admin. Put them into 1 or 2 windows each day, often late morning and late afternoon, and run through them quickly. Decide, do, or delegate. If a message takes less than 2 minutes, answer it and move on. If it needs more time, turn it into a task with a clear next action and a time box in your calendar. Avoid turning your inbox into a to-do list. That invites other people to plan your day. When you batch, you protect your deep blocks from death by 1,000 cuts. A weekly review keeps the whole system honest and aligned with your values. Set aside a short session, maybe Friday afternoon or Monday morning, and ask yourself 3 questions in plain language. Did I act with virtue under pressure? Did I control what I could? Did I learn something useful from what I could not control? Write a few lines. Note 1 or 2 wins you can trace to clear behaviors. Note 1 friction point to fix. Pick 1 small process tweak for the next week. Maybe you will move your hardest block earlier, or tighten your meeting filter, or batch approvals in 1 window instead of 3. Keep the tone factual and constructive. You are building a craft, not grading yourself harshly. Document how you work so others do not have to guess. A 1-page operating manual saves everyone time. Explain your best hours for deep work, your response windows, your preferred channels for different types of requests, the definition of urgent, and how to escalate if something can't wait. Mention how you plan your week and how you track tasks so people know what to expect. Share what kind of feedback helps you most and how you give feedback in return. Keep it simple and revise it as your role changes. When teammates know your operating mode, they can coordinate without endless pings and assumptions. If you lead a team, extend the same clarity. Protect a shared deep work window a few days a week where the team avoids meetings. Agree on what urgent truly means and how to flag it. Use written briefs before meetings so people arrive ready. Make decisions visible and assign clear owners with dates in words, not vague soon. Praise behaviors that align with process over heroics that fix preventable chaos. When you remove friction from doing good work, people relax and do better work. Scope control is a quiet superpower in a Stoic system. Scope creep happens when you add more to a task midstream without adjusting time or resources. To counter it, define scope in writing before you start a block or a sprint. If new ideas appear, capture them in a later bucket unless they are mission critical. If they are critical, explicitly trade something out. This is not rigidity, it is math. Time is finite. By naming the swap, you protect your focus and your promises. Single tasking sounds basic because it is. It is also hard when every device offers a dozen alternatives at any moment. Make it easier by clearing your desk of unrelated items before a deep block. Open only the files and tabs you need. Put your phone far enough away that you have to stand up to use it. Consider full screen mode or a clean writing app when you draft. These are not rules, they are supports. If you slip, notice it and come back to the task without a lecture. You are training attention like a muscle over weeks, not trying to be perfect in one day. Different roles need different shapes, so fit the principles to your job. If you are in a support role with high responsiveness, your deep blocks might be shorter and scheduled at predictable times when volume dips. If you are a manager, your deep work might be writing strategy, preparing one-on-ones, or working on systems that reduce future firefighting. If you are a maker, your deep blocks are for building, designing, or writing in long stretches. If you are on call, protect off-call hours fiercely and rest well, so your on-call time is effective. The ideas stay the same: clear blocks, clear finish lines, behaviors over wishes, reviews that learn from reality. A simple daily planning pass ties it all together. In the morning, glance at your week plan, confirm your deep blocks, and write down the 2 or 3 checkable actions that matter most today. Use the reserve clause quietly by saying to yourself, "I will do these if nothing prevents me." That honest flexibility keeps you steady when a surprise arrives. Midday, run a short pause to trim anything that crept into your list that does not serve your role or your virtues. Evening, capture 1 lesson and 1 tweak for tomorrow. The rhythm is light, but it keeps your day on rails. When you sit down to work, beware of pseudo-work. That is activity that looks like progress, but does not move the outcome. Endless formatting, repeated checking, talking about doing the work more than doing it. To avoid it, ask before each block, what is the smallest thing I can produce that proves progress? If you are writing, it might be 1 page of messy draft. If you are coding, it might be a test that fails and then passes. If you are selling, it might be 1 outreach note sent to a real person. Shippable fragments beat perfect intentions. Use checklists for recurring tasks. They prevent errors and free your brain for creative parts. A publishing checklist might include draft, edit, proof, link check, image rights, schedule, final review. A hiring checklist might include define role, write scorecard, source candidates, structured interviews, reference calls, decision criteria, offer. Checklists sound boring. They save you from avoidable mistakes and make quality repeatable. They also make it easier to hand off work to others because the steps are visible. Silence optional drama in your schedule by making finish lines public when appropriate. You can tell a teammate, "I will share a draft by late afternoon," or post in your team channel, first version coming by early evening. Public commitments create gentle accountability. They also invite early feedback, which often saves you from polishing the wrong thing. If you miss a finish line because life intervened, do not hide. Say what happened, share what you have, and propose a new time. People respect transparency and recovery more than flawless performance. Reduce context switching because it is expensive. Jumping between different kinds of tasks burns energy. Group similar work together. Do all your outreach in one window. Review all designs in one window. Approve all invoices in one window. When you group, your brain stays in the same mode longer and performs better. If you must switch, take a short reset. Stand, breathe, sip water, note the new finish line, then begin. If you want a simple gauge for whether your system is working, notice how often you end a day with something real to show. Not a long day of motion, but a draft, a decision, a working change, a resolved issue. If this happens most days, your process is carrying you. If days end with scattered effort and little to point to, something in your system needs tightening. You can shorten your action list, protect your deep blocks more, or say no to a meeting that only moves information around. Speaking of saying no, build a small bank of phrases that help you keep scope clean. That does not fit in this week. Let us review next Monday. I can do A by Wednesday or B by Friday. Which do you prefer? I cannot own this entirely, but I can contribute X by Thursday morning. These lines are polite gates. They allow important work to flow and keep non-essential work from flooding your schedule. Make documentation your friend. After you solve a problem, write a short note about what you tried and what worked. Store it in a place your future self will find. Future you will thank, present you when the issue repeats. Documentation turns one-time wins into reusable assets and reduces the load on your memory. It also onboards new teammates faster and raises the floor on quality. A Stoic work system is not austere, it is merciful. It saves you from decision fatigue by making the good choice the easy one. It gives you calmer days because you are not juggling 12 priorities at once. It reduces the drama of outcomes by keeping your scorecard tied to actions within your control. Ironically, outcomes often improve because your process produces steady, visible progress that others can see and build on. Clients trust you because you ship. Colleagues trust you because you communicate clearly and keep promises. You trust yourself because you show up and finish. Emergencies will still happen. When they do, use the same tools with tighter loops. Name the finish line for the next hour. Cut scope to essentials. Communicate more often and more simply. After the storm, hold a short debrief. What went well? What broke? What will we change? Capture 1 or 2 process tweaks and move forward. Do not let crises rewrite your whole system unless the pattern truly changed. Most of the time, the basics still work. As for metrics, keep them simple and useful. Track the cadence of your key behaviors over weeks. How many deep blocks did you protect? How many real deliveries did you ship? How many follow-ups did you send? You can jot these in a notebook or a simple tracker. The goal is to see trends, not to chase perfection. If the numbers dip, adjust gently. If they rise, keep doing what works. End each week by resetting your environment for the next one. Clear your desk, close loops, archive old files, lay out the first deep task for Monday morning. This small ritual lowers the friction of starting and makes it more likely you will hit the ground running. If you are ending a Friday tired, write a one-line note to your future self with the first action. Then rest. Rest is part of the system, not a reward for burning out. When you put all of this together, your work stops feeling like a constant reaction and starts feeling like a craft. You plan your blocks, you define your finish lines, you measure by behaviors, you learn from what you cannot control, and you keep communication clean and fair. You reduce meetings to the ones that matter. You batch shallow work so it stops chewing up your best hours. You publish a simple operating manual so people know how to work with you. And you treat the whole thing as a living system that you adjust as your role and season change. This is how you build a year where momentum composes itself, day after day, without needing perfect conditions or heroic sprints. When your days start flowing like that, the next thing that makes everything smoother is carrying less weight in the background. Possessions and money can either support your plans or quietly slow them down. A simple reset here frees attention, lowers stress, and gives you options when life shifts. The Stoic angle is plain. Simplicity is strength, and wealth is the ability to be content with less, not a stack of things that own your time. Start with your environment because it's the stage where your routines happen. Walk through your home with this year's roles and virtues in mind and ask, does this item help me do the work I say matters? Or is it just taking space and asking for dusting, charging, or fixing? You do not need a minimalist makeover. Just move what obviously does not serve you. A donation box by the door helps because it lowers friction. Keep adding to it for a week and then drop it off. If something is broken but fixable and worth keeping, write a date in words on a small tape tag. If it sits too long, that's a vote to let it go. Your goal is to make the place easier to clean, easier to find things in, and quieter on the eyes. A clear desk and a small set of tools you actually use make your morning blocks snap into gear. Money simplicity begins with seeing what is already happening. Pull the last 90 days of transactions and look for repeat charges. Subscriptions have a way of multiplying because they are tiny and silent. Cancel what you do not use or what you kept for a season that has passed. When you cancel, redirect that amount to your emergency cushion automatically. If you cut a streaming service you weren't watching, set that monthly amount to flow into a savings account on the same day. You are not just saving, you are building a habit that turns leaks into a safety net. An emergency cushion is plain peace of mind. Aim for a small starter cushion first, then a bigger one over time. Even a few weeks of expenses gives you breathing room when a tire pops or work slows. Set up an automatic transfer on payday, even if it is a modest number. The point is consistency. Every cancelled subscription and every avoided impulse can feed this cushion. Label the account with a name that reminds you of its purpose, something like Stability Fund, so you think twice before dipping in for something optional. Treat purchases as temperance and justice decisions, not just numbers. Temperance asks if the purchase reduces dependency or creates it. A high-interest buy now pay later plan can feel like freedom and turn into a trap. Justice asks whether your spending aligns with fairness and generosity. You might decide to give a small percentage of your income regularly, even when it's modest. You might choose to buy from businesses that treat workers well when you can. These choices are personal and shaped by your context, but framing them this way makes money an extension of your values, not a separate life. A practical rule that keeps possessions from growing back is one in, one out. When a new jacket enters, pick one to donate. When a new gadget comes, pass along or sell the one it replaces. Keep a small outbox and clear it at the end of the month. This keeps closets and shelves from turning into storage units and forces more deliberate choices. Repairs count as victories. Fixing a chair, patching jeans, replacing a battery, or cleaning and oiling a tool are good reps for patience and care. Borrowing and lending with clear terms is another. Libraries, tool libraries, and neighbor swaps save money and space. When you borrow, return items on time and in good shape. When you lend, set a return date up front. Clear agreements keep relationships smooth. Food spending is often the biggest quiet lever. A simple plan for weekday meals, repeated often, trims costs without daily decisions. Pick a few easy staples you actually like and rotate them. Cook once and eat twice. Keep your kitchen stocked with basics you trust so you are not defaulting to takeout because you forgot to shop. Buying fewer but better tools, like a sharp knife and one solid pan, beats a drawer of gadgets. Health improves, money stress dips, and evenings get calmer. Clothing can be simplified in a friendly way. Choose a small set of outfits that fit your work and climate and wear them on repeat. If you want variety, rotate by season. Repeating outfits is not giving up. It is reducing decision fatigue and impulse buying. When you do buy, aim for durable and comfortable. If something needs special care you know you will not do, skip it. The cost of ownership includes time, laundry, repairs, and mental space. Set clear money boundaries in social life without making it heavy. If a plan is out of budget, suggest an alternative early and plainly. I can do coffee, not dinner this time. If splitting the bill equally would strain you, say you prefer separate checks. Most people are fine with clarity. If someone pushes, hold the line kindly. Generosity does not require overspending. Time, attention, and helpfulness are also currencies. Impulse control gets easier with small breaks. Add a simple waiting period for non-essential buys. 72 hours is enough to let the urge settle. Put the item in a list called Think Again and check it on a set day. Half of the items will fall off by themselves. For the rest, ask a few questions before you buy. Will this reduce my dependency or add to it? Will it make me more generous or more locked into payments? Does it align with who I want to be this decade? Is there a cheaper, simpler version that does the job? If the answers line up, buy it with a clear head. If not, pass without drama. Big discounts create urgency on purpose. Treat sales as neutral events. If you already plan to buy and a real discount appears, good. If not, the sale is someone else's plan for your money. Extended warranties are another trap unless the item is truly fragile and expensive to repair. Many credit cards or local laws already provide basic protections. Read before you pay extra. Subscriptions that bundle features you rarely use are similar. Free trials often end in bills because companies make it hard to cancel. Set a calendar reminder in words for the day before and decide then. Debt deserves steady attention. High-interest debt grows faster than most investments. If you carry it, choose a payoff plan. One common approach is to pay extra on the highest interest balance while paying minimums on the rest. Another is to pay off the smallest balance first to build momentum. Pick the one that you will stick with, automate the extra payment, and avoid adding new debt while you work the plan. If your budget is tight, call your lender and ask whether a lower rate or a plan is possible. Clear communication sometimes opens options you do not see on the website. Budgeting does not need to be a spreadsheet marathon. A simple method is to divide your monthly income into a few broad buckets. Essentials like housing, utilities, transport, food. Flexible wants like dining out or entertainment, saving and investing, which includes your emergency cushion. Giving, if that is part of your values. You can set rough percentages and adjust as your situation changes. Automate transfers the day you get paid, so your good decisions happen without willpower. For irregular expenses like annual fees, travel, or car maintenance, create small buckets and add a little each month. When the expense arrives, it's not a surprise. If you do not like apps, use separate accounts or even envelopes. The container matters less than the habit. Fewer financial tools make life simpler. One checking account, one savings account, one primary credit card paid in full each month if you use one. Too many accounts create fog and fees. If you need multiple for business or taxes, label them clearly and keep a short note on what each is for. Turn on alerts for large transactions and for when a payment posts, so you catch errors quickly. Review your statements monthly and scan for anything that looks off. 10 minutes can save real money. Work on lowering your fixed monthly costs where you can. Negotiate internet and phone plans once a year. Shop insurance with the same coverage to see if rates dropped. If housing is the main squeeze and relocation is possible, run the math on a smaller place or a different area. Fixed costs are the foundation of your freedom. The lower they are relative to your income, the more options you have in tough times, and the sooner you can choose projects because they matter, not only because they pay. Think like a Stoic investor in character. Spend more on things that compound your ability to serve and earn over time. Learning, tools you will master, health and relationships are all assets. A short course that improves your craft can pay back for years. A mentor session can save months of guessing. A reliable laptop that speeds your work is a better investment than a flashier phone that does not change your output. Time with people who challenge and support you can open opportunities money alone cannot. Be cautious with status purchases that signal success but add no real capability. They tax your freedom twice, once when you buy and again when you maintain. If you do invest money, keep it boring and understandable. If you cannot explain how something makes a return in simple words, it is fine to pass. Diversification and low costs win over long spans. Beware of anyone promising certain results or pushing urgency. You can say no thanks and walk away. That is temperance in action with your capital. Focus on building a steady saving habit first. The best opportunities are easier to take when you already have a cushion. Your lifestyle set point will try to rise with income. Resist automatic upgrades. Give yourself a cooling-off period before changing your housing, car, or subscriptions when you get a raise. Consider directing a chunk of any raise to savings and investment first, then decide what, if anything, to upgrade. It is easier to keep costs steady than to cut them later. You are buying future freedom with today's restraint. Making money and things simpler does not mean living drearily. It means your gear, home, and accounts are light enough that you can pivot without dragging. You feel the difference when a surprise bill shows up and you pay it without panic. You feel it when an opportunity arises and you can take it because you have a cushion and a calendar that is not packed with debt-fueled obligations. The point is not to count pennies obsessively. The point is to align your money and possessions with your real priorities. There is room for joy in all of this. Choose a few things you genuinely love and use them fully. If you adore coffee, buy beans you look forward to and make it a daily ritual. If you love hiking, spend on a pair of boots that fit and a pass to the trails. If books are your thing, budget for them and then read them, annotate them, share them. Joy becomes cleaner when it is not tangled up in guilt or debt. Temperance is not deprivation. It is the reclaiming of choice. If you share finances with someone, make simplicity a joint project. Agree on a regular time to review bills, goals, and tweaks. Keep the tone friendly, not accusatory. Use statements like, "Here is what I see. Here is what I propose. What do you think?" Decide how to handle personal spending so neither of you feels policed. Some couples use separate small, fun budgets and a shared household account. Others pool everything. The structure matters less than mutual clarity and respect. Justice at home looks like shared visibility and fair effort, not surveillance. Handle generosity with intention. Small, regular giving is easier to stick with than occasional big gestures. Choose causes or people you trust and commit an amount that fits your season. You can also give time and skills, which are often as valuable as cash. Write it in your calendar like any other commitment. Service is part of a good life, and it keeps money in perspective. A monthly simplicity reset keeps momentum. Pick a quiet evening, review your subscriptions and statements, clear your outbox, repair one thing or schedule the repair, and choose one object to let go of that no longer fits. Adjust one bill if you can. Add one small step to your emergency fund. This takes less than an hour once you get the hang of it. Over a year, the changes stack. If you hit a rough patch, return to basics. Protect shelter, food, utilities, and essential transport first. Communicate early with creditors and service providers. Many offer hardship options if you ask. Cut non-essential subscriptions fast and pause discretionary buys. Keep a short list of nutritious, low-cost meals. Ask for help from people you trust and offer value where you can in return. Pride can be expensive. Most people understand temporary tight spots. Focus on regaining stability one small step at a time. Over time, as your environment lightens and your money gets clearer, you will notice practical benefits. You can find what you need faster. You spend less time maintaining things you do not care about. You worry less about surprise expenses because your cushion exists. You feel less pressure to say yes to bad projects because your fixed costs are under control. You make choices that fit your values because you are not chasing the next payment. That is what Seneca meant by wealth being about needing less. It is freedom to live according to your judgments, not according to bills you barely remember agreeing to. Keep the tone of all this friendly and realistic. Some months will be tighter, some seasons will be heavy. The aim is not to become a monk or to judge people who choose differently. The aim is to align your possessions and your money with who you say you are and what you want this decade to look like. Simplicity is personal. You get to decide what is enough for your life and your responsibilities. When you have aligned things this way, your work system from earlier gets a tailwind. Clear spaces, fewer financial worries, and a budget that matches your goals make it easier to focus, to be generous, and to respond to change. You become lighter and more mobile in every sense. And that mobility gives you something rare in a noisy year: the room to choose your projects, to help others without fear, and to keep your word without running yourself thin. That is a form of wealth you can feel every day, not just on a statement. With that kind of lightness and mobility, it becomes easier to point your time at what matters beyond your own calendar. 3 anchors make a real difference here: committing to service, spending regular time in nature, and keeping mortality in view as a daily focusing tool. None of these needs big speeches or complicated systems. They just need small, steady moves that fit your real life. Start with mortality awareness because it sharpens every choice. The simplest way to use it is a quiet morning question. Ask yourself, if I remembered clearly that my time is finite, what would I do today? Do not chase a dramatic answer. Pick one small thing and try to do it before noon. It could be calling a parent, sending a thank you note, booking a medical check you have been avoiding, starting the first page of that application, or walking with your partner without your phone. When you do one of these before midday, you feel the shift. Procrastination has less room because you gave the day a clear priority that matters beyond metrics. To make this stick, keep it tiny and concrete. Write the answer on a card or speak it into a voice note. If your morning is crowded, ask the question while you make coffee and commit to the smallest step that moves the thing. If emotions come up, let them be there. Mortality awareness is not about drama. It is about choosing presence. You are not trying to squeeze a lifetime into a day. You are making sure at least one action today would still matter to you if you looked back in a year. Once a week, expand the view slightly. Do a short review where you ask what you would regret not doing if this were your last few months at your current pace. This is not a prediction. It is a filter. When the same item shows up week after week, that is a signal. Schedule it, even if you must trade something less important. The reserve clause from earlier helps here. Add a quiet if nothing prevents me to your plans so you stay honest about interruptions without dropping the thread. Now, bring nature into the picture. Schedule a weekly block outdoors, preferably a few hours, and protect it the way you would protect a key meeting. Put it in the calendar with a clear label. Tell whoever needs to know. Plan a simple route or spot, and keep your phone on airplane mode if safety allows. The aim is not steps or photos. It is contact with silence, sunlight, fresh air, and something living that is not a screen. A park bench, a neighborhood trail, a beach walk, a garden, a balcony with plants. Use what you have. If weather threatens, prepare for it rather than canceling by default. A jacket or a hat solves a lot. If it is truly unsafe, move the block indoors near a window, bring a plant into view, and read or write quietly. Keep the habit alive. Use that time for a grounded version of the view from above. Look around, then imagine the city around you, then the region, then the planet. Let the scale of things settle your urgency. You are not trying to feel small. You are trying to balance perspective so your next decision is calmer. Nature helps because it does not ask anything from you. It is a low-noise environment where your attention can refill. Service is the third anchor, and it works best when you make it specific and scheduled. Pick one way you will help this year and turn it into a recurring commitment rather than a vague intention. Choose something that fits your skills and your season of life. Mentoring a student or a junior colleague for 1 hour weekly, showing up at a community kitchen every other Saturday morning, doing free work for a non-profit that needs your craft, joining a local cleanup, delivering groceries to an elderly neighbor, tutoring someone online in a skill you know, or taking one pro bono case if you are a professional who can. Pick a role, not just a list of possibilities, and put it into your calendar with the same seriousness as your work blocks. Make service useful by asking what is actually needed. When you join a cause or a group, talk to the organizer and ask for the unglamorous tasks that keep things stable. It could be logistics, reminders, spreadsheets, lifting boxes, setting up chairs, or onboarding volunteers. Real help is often quiet. If you prefer direct help, ask a neighbor or a friend what would lighten their week and then do that without making it a big show. Keep your promises and be on time. Reliability beats enthusiasm that burns out. Guardrails keep service sustainable. Set a clear limit for how many hours you can give and stick to it. Decide how you will handle requests that fall outside your lane. You can say, "I cannot help with that this month, but I can do X next week," or "I am not the right person for this. Try Y." Bring the same clarity you use at work. You are doing this for the long haul, not for a week of heroics. If burnout creeps in, adjust before you resent it. A smaller, steady commitment is better than a big burst followed by a disappearance. If you do not know where to start, begin local and small. Look for an existing group in your neighborhood, school, or community center. Ask a friend you trust where they serve and try a shift with them. Offer your skill set. If you are good at writing, help with grant drafts or emails. If you are technical, help with simple websites or tools. If you are social, help with greeting and organizing people. If you prefer hands-on work, look for places that need help with setup, cleanup, or deliveries. Test a few until one fits, then commit for a season and review later. Tie service to your identity word if you chose one. If your word is service, you are already there. If it is steadiness, show up consistently for others. If it is clarity, bring structure and communication. If it is courage, take on the tasks others avoid or have the tough conversations that smooth collaboration. Service is a chance to practice virtues without waiting for perfect conditions. Mortality awareness has a practical side beyond daily prompts. It is a nudge to handle basic plans that reduce future stress for you and for the people who depend on you. Create a simple emergency document with your key contacts, medical information, medications, allergies, where to find important papers, and any specific wishes you have for emergencies. Store it in a safe place and tell a trusted person where it is. If you have dependents or responsibilities, consider basic legal documents like a will and a health directive that states your preferences for care. If legal terms feel intimidating, think of a will as instructions for what happens to your things and your responsibilities. And think of a health directive as instructions for your care if you cannot speak. If you are unsure how to do these, many regions have standard forms and clinics or community centers that can guide you. These steps are not morbid, they are acts of care. Bring the same clarity to your digital life. Keep a simple list of accounts and a way for a trusted person to handle them if needed. Most services have legacy settings where you can name a contact. Choose someone now and tell them. Clean up your files and photos a little each month so that your digital footprint is not a mess for someone else later. You are doing future you and future helpers a favor. Mortality awareness also improves how you talk. It makes it easier to say what needs to be said while the person can hear it. If you have a thank you that you have been holding back, send it this week. If you owe an apology, make it short and sincere. If you love someone and you rarely say it out loud, say it in the next call. You do not need a special occasion. You need a minute of courage. This is not a demand to unload heavy conversations every day. It is a reminder not to postpone the words that would clean your side of the street. Nature time can double as service if you want. Join local trail maintenance days. Plant trees with a community group. Pick up litter on your walk and dispose of it safely. Or help a neighbor with their garden if they cannot manage it themselves. You get all the benefits of fresh air while doing something tangible. If you are busy, keep it simple. Bring a small bag on your daily walk and pick up a few pieces of trash. It adds up and costs almost no extra time. If your schedule is packed, stack these anchors gently into routines you already have. Ask your morning mortality question while you brush your teeth. Take a short walk outside after lunch and leave your phone at home or in a pocket on silent. Dedicate one evening a week to a service task and treat it like a class you paid for. Keep the volume low and consistent so you do not feel like you are juggling new projects. The aim is to nudge your week, not to rebuild it from scratch. It helps to set simple cues that keep these habits alive. Put your walking shoes by the door the night before. Leave your volunteer badge in your bag so you're always ready. Keep a stack of thank you cards and stamps on your desk. Schedule reminders in clear words so you do not rely on memory. If you miss a week, do not make a speech about it. Pick it up next week. Consistency is built by resuming, not by perfection. Keep your self-talk friendly and grounded. Mortality awareness can bring up fear. That is normal. You do not need to wrestle with it. Touch the thought and return to the action you chose for today. If service brings up frustration, talk to the organizer and adjust your role rather than quitting in silence. If nature feels boring at first, give it time. Your attention has been trained by fast inputs. It takes a few weeks for quiet to feel rich again. A simple way to help is to pair your walk with a purpose, like noticing 5 birds, 5 plants, and 5 sounds. It sounds basic. It works. Close each week with a quick check that is easy to keep. Ask yourself 3 questions in plain words. Did I do one thing that would matter if I remembered my time is finite? Did I spend time outside without a phone or a target? Did I help someone in a way that cost me something real, like time, focus, or comfort? If any answer is no, pick one small action for the next week. Keep it specific. Morning call to a relative on Tuesday. Walk in the park for 45 minutes on Saturday morning. Volunteer shift on Thursday evening. Put them in the calendar and move on. You can bring others along without preaching. Invite a friend to your walk and leave phones in pockets. Ask a colleague if they want to co-mentor a student so you share the load. Offer to take a neighbor's trash out if you are going anyway. These are low-pressure ways to weave service and nature into social time. If someone is curious about mortality awareness, share your simple morning question rather than a lecture. Most people do not need convincing. They need a way to start that does not feel heavy. These anchors also help in rough seasons. When work is uncertain or personal life is messy, service gives structure and meaning that do not vanish with a bad week. Nature gives you a physical reset when thinking is noisy. Mortality awareness keeps you from wasting weeks on resentment or trivial fights. Together they steady your rhythm when other parts wobble. They also tend to improve your mood without forcing positivity. Helping someone else shifts attention outward. Stepping outside changes your physiology. Doing one thing that would matter in a year keeps you from spiraling into small loops. If you want to deepen this over time, choose 1 month to focus more on one pillar. You could make 1 month a service season where you log extra hours and learn a new role. Another month could emphasize nature with longer walks and a short trip to a nearby trail. Another might focus on cleaning up your affairs with documents, conversations, and simple plans. Rotate as your life allows. The point is to keep growing at a pace you can sustain. The final thing worth underlining is simplicity. Fancy gear, perfect trails, prestigious charities, or elaborate rituals are not required. A phone call, a park bench, a written note, a clear document, a recurring calendar block. These do the job. The benefits are practical. Your days contain more moments you are proud of. Your attention has a place to rest that is not a screen. Your relationships tighten because you speak sooner and help more. Decisions get easier because you are not pretending you have endless time. This is a humane way to live in a busy year, so keep it small and steady. Ask the morning question and act on one answer before noon. Step outside on purpose each week with your phone quiet. Pick a way to serve and show up for it like you would for someone you respect. Put a few simple plans in place so the people who love you are not left guessing if something happens. None of this requires perfection. It requires intention, a calendar, and follow-through. When you do it long enough to feel the change, you will notice your days have more meaning and less noise, and that is a reset you can carry anywhere.